it it's I love the work you've been doing and what you do now. It seems like it's been fun and there's lots of energy inside what you do. Now,
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Lots of fun. We can't take life way too seriously because yeah, then it's all hard. We want it to be fun and easy.
so did your team fill you in on what this show's about and the questions?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I have all that information and thank goodness saved all the emails. I was like digging through every single email and I'm like, there's his phone number.
Yeah,
So you'll
I
have lots of
we
emails like, where's the StreamYard? Where's the StreamYard?
oh, I know it's so funny. I originally we were doing StreamYard, and then Garen offered to do this with me, and so we're still using StreamYard, but he's now hiding it from ping, so that what happens is we look as we're going live much more produced, right, in a
I
good way.
like it. Good.
Cool. Well, the goal, the fun is in this case I want you to feel comfortable. Just so be you. And the way to think about what what this is. I mean, I have a fairly wide audience, but let's ignore that. Let's focus on producing content that you can use as middle of the funnel content,
Okay.
right? So it's once you get people in the door, we could produce something that's so cool that you could take clips from this or use the whole thing as you want your prospects to get to know who you really are, because that's at the end of the day why they're going to hire you is they feel good about you. And that's my goal on this one. This is really a fun. uh I Other than the first and the last two questions, I have no idea where the conversation is going to go.
I like those the best. Those are my favorite guest shows where it's just a conversation, the two of us getting to know each other and having a good time.
Fantastic. Cool. So any particular, oh, that looks like your site. Well, it looks like you.
It
Looks
does.
like
Well,
you
that's
on a
good.
different day.
Yes, a different day. My hair is actually curled. Nope, that's good. I like that. That's the website's great. Thank
And Garen, it's so interesting. What I realized you did last time is you did a video for an author. I mean for a guest, and I have a video that you might be able to use if we could figure out how to squeeze that in. Yeah, let me grab that. It's unfortunately it's only 90, it's 90 seconds, so I don't know when it would make sense to do it. And so we don't have to worry about it this time. I'd rather make sure that we do the right thing by Jennifer. So,
you. Or something like.
oh no, well that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be bad.
Yeah. So it's I put it here, Garen, for future, but it's my speaker. Hi, Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and I am excited to be here after being off in Europe for 4 weeks. It is absolutely amazing to be back. It really is amazing to be back. And this is one of the funnest times of my days. And that is talking to somebody and really uncovering who they are and how they show up. The show is Leaders Living Their Values. And I'm excited to have Jennifer Thornton with us today. Jennifer, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's going to be such a fun conversation today.
I don't know. We'll make it that way. Absolutely. And I love just throwing the ball in the air and saying, Jennifer, hello, who are you?
Oh my gosh, who am I? So that's such always an interesting question to try to answer. So I think who I am is someone who is excited to see what's around the corner, excited to see what's possible. I'm an avid traveler, book reader, always curious about someone's story and how they arrived where they are and where they're going.
Hmm, that's interesting. Tell me about listening to somebody's story. By the way, it's one of the things I love doing as well. As a publisher, as someone who we've published over 750 books, I just love listening to stories. H- How does that work for you?
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to someone earlier today and they asked me what was my favorite leadership book, right? So we do leadership education as an organization and they're like, "What's your favorite book?" And I was like, actually, I don't read leadership books." And they were very surprised by that. And the reason I said, but I read a ton of books, but I really enjoy fiction. I enjoy historical fiction. And I think that what you grow from other people's stories, and that's how you expand your mind and expand your experiences. I could never travel to some of the places in the world, but I can read someone's story from that location and get an idea of it through their eyes. And for me, it's the ability to experience more that I can experience in one lifetime, but also to learn and to learn how to be a better human, a better educator, a better friend, family member, spouse, all of those things. I think I personally learn from stories and just watching people work through life and their grit and their experiences. And so I look at experiencing life a little different, sometimes through my own eyes and sometimes through the eyes of someone else.
Hmm. God, there's so much similarities in who you and I are. Tell me your favorite book where the story sort of maybe shocked you, but also you've used it, you've applied it to what you do day to day.
Oh my gosh, so many options there. And I always try to think of one that maybe isn't as popular that no one's ever, or, most people haven't heard of. There's an incredible book called The Same Kind of Different as Me. And it's a true story about two gentlemen in Fort Worth. And one of them is an incredibly wealthy art dealer, million, billion dollar painting type world. And the other gentleman is a homeless individual. And they both have obviously very different stories, but the world brings them together and they become best friends. It just gives me chills thinking about it. And you would think as you're reading it that the person who struggled with secure home and secure food would be the one that needed help, but that's not true. It was the very wealthy, fancy art dealer that really needed help, and Denver came through for him. And so I've even seen the two gentlemen speak. One of them has since passed, but it was a very powerful book about you never know who your friend needs to be in your life.
Hmm. I could see how that would affect you. How have you been able to apply that concept inside an organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're getting me to think about it. And I love that. So I think that oftentimes when I'm working with leaders, they're very focused on their vertical, on their responsibilities, their team. And one of the early questions as I'm onboarding a new client that we talk about are who are your key adjacent partners, but who are those influencers that maybe are not key to your success on the surface? But if you really kind of think about it differently or think about what they bring to the table, what you can learn from them, who they are adjacent to, how could that person help you, and how could you most importantly help them out in their team? And so I think there is a lot of value in having a diverse group of friends, a diverse group of coworkers, and being around people that might not be on the surface who you would think you would spend your time with.
That's fascinating. I can see if you do a collection of responses from asking that question, I'm curious how many people, when they initially give you the response, it's only halfway there or a quarter of a way there. And when you start digging deeper, they really fill in the blank.
They do. They always, if you're in accounting, all of a sudden it's someone, and, I don't know, the finance planning department, right? So it's like really adjacent, but in their mind, it seems far away. And that actually is very telling. It says that, someone who's fairly close feels far away. And why do they feel far away? What have we done to build that relationship and make them feel close and make them feel like they are a partner in the objectives that you're trying to reach or the organization's trying to reach? And then those who get a little bit more creative, you can kind of tell that they're a little bit more curious. But those types of conversations and going a little deeper with clients help you understand, where you want to go with them and where they are in their journey.
Now, do you incorporate those partners that are farther away in the 360, or how do you make sure that the person you're coaching sort of opens up the opportunity for a stronger relationship with them?
Well, and it's a good question, because in today's world, it looks a little different. It would have been really easy a few years to say, have lunch with someone different every day, right? Like all that silly stuff we're told, go do. But that doesn't necessarily work in today's world. And so a lot of it is around, if you have something that you are going to present, or you have a strategy you're working on, reaching out to individuals and saying, I'm working on this strategy. I'm not sure if it touches your department, but I think it's important for me to know if it does. Because that opens up a conversation that's worth someone showing up for. Someone can cancel lunch on you. Someone can cancel a touch base on you. But when someone says, oh, hey, they want to know if what they're working on impacts me, they're a lot more likely to show up and have that conversation. And they appreciate the fact that you would reach out. And so reaching out with purpose makes a big difference and helps them start to build those relationships that can be instrumental in their career.
Kind of curious, I know you have your own tool that you built. Maybe that's the answer. What are some of the tools that companies should be using to check on overall employee culture?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, the surveys that we do, there's, the pulse surveys, there's the big long ones that we do. Are they effective? Do you learn from them? Yes. But I would say that most organizations do the work to get the information, but don't always do the work to impact the information. And I think that's one of the most dangerous things you can do, is ask someone's opinion and do nothing about it. Because, if you ask my opinion and I took time out of my day to give it to you, but yet you never told me the results, you never told me what was going to happen, I see nothing change. All of a sudden, my problems that were maybe like, I'm not so excited about that, are like, well, how dare them? Like, I told them and they did nothing, right? So the problems actually grow when people do nothing about the feedback that they receive from a culture survey. I think some of your best ways to understand if your culture is healthy and your environment's healthy is to just have casual conversations with the people in your organization. And for CEOs, there's a CEO that I work with, and he has X amount of 30-minute sessions a week that are set aside just for meeting people that are in the organization. And it's a large organization. I mean, it's a $1 billion+ organization, and different people. He'll say, I want to meet someone this month from supply chain and from accounting, right? And so they'll say, okay, and they'll look for someone that's been there for years, or maybe someone that's been there for new. But he just sits down and has conversations. And he said, you can tell how people feel about their job. And I just think that's a great example of checking in on the culture that most people don't make the time to do.
I actually tend to agree. Although many people would say you've got to take a survey, and yeah, I love that answer, right? Because you have to take a survey, you have to do the following, you have to let people know, and then at the end of the day, it's randomly checking with the people who work with you and how they're doing. And now
Yeah.
here's the question: is how do you make sure that they tell the truth?
Oh, yeah, that's always hard. I used to get in trouble for that a lot at work, telling the truth. That's why I always joke. I now get paid to do what I used to get in trouble for because I'd be really honest at work, and that'd get me in trouble. So that's why I'm a consultant, because that's what they pay us to do. But you ask more questions, or you synthesize the information you learned that month, and that's a big piece of it. Is thinking about the messages that you're getting from maybe your direct reports. And then when you talk to someone else, is that a completely different message? So it's not always about, is that person telling the truth? Because they could be telling their truth. It's about understanding, how is all that information? Is it consistent? Is it, is the message the same everywhere? Or are you getting 3 different stories from 3 different parts of the company? That'll tell you a ton, because it tells you that your message isn't clear. And years and years and years ago, I had this leader I worked for, and when he would, I was in retail for years, and when he would visit stores, he would say, I'm always excited if everything's right or if everything's wrong, because then I know that there's consistent communication, right or wrong, at least it's consistent. And I always thought that was an interesting way to look at it. And it's always stayed with me.
That is really interesting. I should think about that. Everything right or is everything wrong? That one of the most important elements of talking of making sure you've got culture is a constant stream of consistent information. That's fascinating. How do you make sure that happens?
Oh, there's a lot of pieces to it. I don't know if there is one straight line. A lot of it depends on your organization, what you're trying to achieve. Are you a startup and in fast growth mode, or are you established? I think it's about simplicity. At the end of the day, the consistency across all of those are simplicity. And it's simplicity, but it's also making sure that the leaders act in the way in which they're talking. Words on a paper really mean nothing. It's how we actually interact with each other and how we show up. And that's what creates the culture. There's the culture on paper, and then there's the culture we all live in. And those two are not always consistent.
So the culture that you work on when you work with companies, tell me about the culture in home, whatever home is for you.
Oh, my home?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So you might have heard there's some dogs. It's that time of day where everyone's coming home. So my dogs are greeting all the neighbors. So my home is, it's actually very consistent. We live a very consistent schedule. Everyone that comes to our house are like, how are your dogs so well behaved? And I'm like, well, they get fed the same time every day. They get up and go to bed the same time every day. They just know what to expect. So life's easy for them. But I'd also say that our home is very independent. All of us are very independent individuals. We enjoy our lives as individuals, and we enjoy our lives together. And both of those are important to my husband and I.
I always find that to be really important, to have your own life, have your partner have their own life, and then have a together life. And for some odd reason, we don't really think about that in the workplace. It sounds like that's something you bring into the workplace as well when you're helping your clients.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely take some of those same practices. And a lot of it, again, goes back to our early conversation around, who do you spend your time with at work? Who are you working with? Are you so dependent on the same person every week? Or are you, creating relationships cross-functionally so that you're more educated and can make better decisions? Having kind of your own, little board of directors inside of your department of board of directors, so that you get to meet a lot of different people and just learn from what they are experiencing. And, I think I learned the value of that many years ago, I moved from a domestic position into an international position. And when you work internationally, you have to get very creative with communication. You have to get very creative with time zones. How do you connect people? How do you create a team where no one speaks the same language or has the same culture? And you have to get really creative. And I look back on that time as a pivotal moment for me as a leader, and really started to develop some of the skills that I use in my business today.
Hmm. You know, what popped into my head, I was curious because you talked about books. I was also thinking about movies. Is there a particular movie that the characters in the movie affected who you are and how you show up, or gave you this super cool story that you deploy in your work life?
I don't know if I have a movie. I mean, I'd watch some TV. I'm not much of a TV person or a show person. Gosh, what is a good movie? I like a lot of dark comedies. I don't know what that says about me. Um, in fact, above me, for those that are watching, you can see my Tim Burton book about his life. Talk about dark comedy and very intellectual dark comedy. Those types of things. Again, human nature. If it's about human nature and the ways we interact, I enjoy all of that. And those are probably more the movies I lean towards and learn from than like a big blockbuster that, you know, everyone's out watching.
Which is is Tim Burton one of your favorite movies you like to watch? I'm thinking about dark comedy. What's your favorite?
Oh, gosh. Probably the Royal Tenenbaums. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Yeah.
I have.
Wes Anderson is another one of my big fans. In fact, behind me, there's also Wes Anderson. So my two favorite directors are Tim Burton and Wes Anderson, but they're dark, very unique characters. The characters have a lot of depth to them and a lot of history and baggage that they're walking around with.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I could see it. I was hoping you weren't going to say Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a pretty good one too.
Oh, it's a good. Yeah. It really is. That's fascinating. Yeah. So I like who you are and how you show up. I see the person you are. What has a client taught you that surprised you? You know, I'm talking about there's a lot of learning, and you just look at Jennifer's LinkedIn profile, and there's a vast amount of stuff you follow through with her website. There's a lot of stuff there that's powerful, and I'm curious, what lesson did you take away from a client? Obviously, don't mention client names. That you go, oh, that was fascinating. I'm gonna deploy that tomorrow, or to other people.
Oh my gosh, that list is probably really long. I think that one of the things that I've learned is actually from my very, very first client, who's still a client today. And he is incredibly comfortable with risk. And at times makes me a little uncomfortable and nervous. And I'm okay with that too. But I've watched him grow his business so quickly. He provides a lot of jobs to communities who needs jobs. And he has done it at such a pace that I don't know most people could stomach. And he is able to retain information and synthesize information and make some really good business decisions. But definitely the ability to stomach risk and what that can mean, not only for yourself as a business owner, but the amount of jobs that he puts out into communities is pretty impressive.
And how does something like that help you coaching other clients?
One of the things we talk a lot about in my philosophies is around the balance of fear and innovation. And the more fear we have, the less access we have to innovation. And how do we manage ourselves in a place with lowered fear? I mean, we never can make it go away. But how do we lower it? And how do we more importantly lower it for our team? And Innovation and risk can kind of go hand in hand. If you're innovative, you will be taking risks, you'll be trying things that others might not try. And so working with people to really understand how fear can cloud their judgment. Fear can make them make decisions on the surface that look really easy, but down the road, those will not be great decisions. The ripple effect is there. But really helping leaders understand that fear is holding them back from risk and innovation, and maybe why their either position has stalled out or their company has started to stall out.
That's a very interesting response. I see that as very powerful as well. So Jennifer, is there a question that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Let's see. How about if a leader wanted to lead in a place that was more innovative and had less fear in it, how would they do it?
The complementary to the last statement. Absolutely. Please share.
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with our language and how our language sets people up to respond to us. And oftentimes you'll have a new employee, right? You hire that new employee and you've told them, bring me your new ideas. Tell me what's this, tell me what's that. And then they come in and tell you and you go, oh yeah, we've tried that. No, I've looked at that now. No. And when people come to us and offer ideas, offer suggestions, offer innovation, if we shut them down consistently, then we're teaching them we have no interest in doing things new. We have no interest in innovation, risk, and we're also creating fear. Oh gosh, they didn't like my last two ideas. I wonder if they'll like this one. You know what? I'm just going to keep it to myself and see how things go. And that happens a lot. We teach people not to be creative in the workplace through our language. And one of the favorite things that I teach executives when someone brings them an idea or a problem solve that they don't necessarily love, instead of shutting it down, say, I don't see it, but change my mind. And that way you're still honest. I don't get it, but I'm open to seeing your point of view. And that creates a conversation. And I can't tell you how many people have come back and said, I did that. And guess what? I changed my mind, or I learned something. So we kind of have a hybrid approach now. Or sometimes you still say no, and that's okay too. But you created an environment where people can still be creative, innovative, and bring you ideas without fear.
I love that. I'm not convinced I ever strung that sentence together that way, even though that may be my intention. So I'm going to say thank you. It is now part of my vernacular. I don't see it, but change my mind. I got it. I'll even quote you and spread some cred dust your way on that one, because that one is you're sort of taunting. Be innovative. Change my mind. I love that.
Change my mind. Yeah, and just think of the great conversations that come out of that. If you have to show up and your boss wants you to change his or her mind, then you're showing up with your research under your belt. You're passionate. You're excited about it. And just imagine a team of people who were willing to come to you with those types of ideas that they've really put work into and want to share them with you to drive the business forward. And, what would be possible for your company if you promoted that kind of conversation daily?
Oh, I love that. Wow. That's a great place to end. Thank you. Jennifer, you're amazing. If people want to reach out to you, maybe Garen, you could share Jennifer's website. And Jennifer, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
So you can reach out to us through our website at 304coaching.com. You can also reach me directly on LinkedIn at Jen Thornton, ACC. And obviously we can continue the conversation either location.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate you spending your time and energy and allowing me to ask some very strange questions.
Well, and thank you for making me think and be a little creative. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hey, so listen, if you're still here, this is now time to spread Jen's cred dust. Click on the like button, share with your friends, write down the aha moments that you got, or even write down mine and said, Mitchell said he's going to do it. I'm going to make sure he does that. And I look forward to seeing you at the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Bye now.